Imagine the very people sworn to protect us turning into criminals themselves. Cops caught red-handed selling illegal guns. This story will shock you. The very people we trust to enforce the law have been caught running underground gun markets, selling weapons to cartels and even international arms traffickers. And here's the shocking twist. Trump's name is at the center of this controversy. But why? What's the real story? If that doesn't make you pause, I don't know what will. Imagine this. A police chief conspiring with a Delta Force agent and a Russian arms dealer, or a tiny town police force buying military-grade weapons like Gatling guns and full autos. These are real stories happening across 23 states, and they're not isolated incidents. The media is tying it all back to Trump with claims of immunity for these corrupt officers. But is that true? What's really going on? Today, we're going to break it all down, separate fact from fiction, and dig into what this means for us as gun owners and Americans. Before we get into the meat of this story, I want to hear from you. What's your take on police officers abusing their positions for personal gain, especially when it comes to firearms? Does it surprise you? Or is it just more evidence of a system that's broken? I want to hear your take on this. Do these scandals shake your trust in law enforcement? Tell me below, and let's have a real conversation. Now, I know some of you might already have strong feelings about Trump, the ATF, or even law enforcement in general. That's okay. This isn't about taking sides. It's about getting to the truth of what's really happening. And let me tell you, there's a lot more to this story than the headlines would have you believe. Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you'll not only know the facts, but you'll see how it all ties back to our rights as gun owners. Here's what you need to know. Since 2017, police officers across 23 states have been caught selling illegal firearms. These aren't minor infractions. We're talking about guns being funneled to Mexican cartels, international arms dealers, and even private citizens who wanted to bypass legal channels. Some of these cases involve high-ranking officials, including police chiefs and federal agents. It's not just shocking, it's infuriating. One of the most outrageous incidents happened in a small Iowa town with a population of less than 1,000. Their police force ordered 90 full-auto firearms, a Gatling gun, and other military-grade equipment. For what? This isn't about keeping the peace. It's about exploiting loopholes to get access to restricted weapons. Now, this brings us to Trump. Recently, a headline claimed that Trump is providing immunity to police officers caught selling illegal guns. That's a bold accusation, and I'll admit, it grabbed my attention too. But here's the thing. When you dig deeper, the story isn't what it seems. There's a difference between protecting corrupt cops and defending good officers who are unfairly targeted. The media loves to blur that line, and this is no exception. This isn't just a story about corruption. It's about how the system allows this to happen. The ATF, for instance, has been complicit in its own scandals, like Operation Fast and Furious, where they let guns walk into the hands of criminals. So, can we really trust them to hold anyone accountable? This story matters, not just because of the hypocrisy, but because it impacts the trust we place in law enforcement and federal agencies. And for gun owners like you and me, that trust, or lack of it, has real consequences. Let's unpack this further. Let's get into the details of the scandal itself. Since 2017, officers across 23 states have been caught engaging in illegal gun sales. And this isn't just about shady back-alley deals or isolated incidents. We're talking about systematic abuse of power, with some cases involving international arms trafficking. The trust placed in law enforcement is being used as a smokescreen for some of the worst kinds of corruption. Take one infamous case. 2 police chiefs, a Delta Force agent, and a Russian international arms trafficker. This wasn't just speculation. They pleaded guilty to the charges. Their operation involved smuggling firearms and military equipment under the radar, selling to people who had no business owning these weapons. Let's be clear. This isn't about a paperwork error or bending the rules. This is deliberate criminal activity, and it doesn't stop there. In a small Iowa town with a population of less than 1,000, their police force managed to order 90 full-auto firearms, a Gatling gun, and other heavy-duty military equipment. What could they possibly need all that firepower for? It doesn't take a genius to figure out this wasn't for community protection. These examples raise some serious questions about oversight. How does this happen under the watch of agencies like the ATF? The ATF, which is supposed to prevent exactly this type of behavior, has its own skeletons in the closet. Remember Operation Fast and Furious? The ATF knowingly allowed firearms to flow into the hands of cartels, supposedly to track them. That backfired spectacularly, as those same guns were used to commit violent crimes. So, when rogue officers engage in illegal gun sales and the ATF prosecutes them, it's hard to take the moral high ground seriously. We're left with a system where both the enforcers and the regulators are undermining the very laws they claim to uphold. This scandal isn't just about corruption. It's about a breakdown in accountability that leaves law-abiding gun owners like you and me to deal with the fallout. Now let's bring Trump into the mix. If you've seen the headlines claiming that Trump is giving immunity to officers selling illegal guns, you're probably as shocked as I was. But here's the thing. Those headlines are misleading. Let me break down what's really happening. But is Trump really protecting dirty cops, or is this just another media spin job? Let's break it down. What Trump has proposed isn't about shielding bad cops. It's about defending good officers who risk their lives and face legal scrutiny for doing their jobs. Imagine being a police officer and knowing that any split-second decision could land you in court or make you the target of a media frenzy. That's the situation Trump is addressing. For example, take Daniel Penny, the former Marine who stepped in during a subway incident and was accused of excessive force. He was trying to protect innocent people, yet he faced a trial that could have ruined his life. Trump's position is about ensuring that officers and civilians like Penny aren't unfairly punished for protecting themselves or others. It's about providing legal immunity to those who act in good faith, not to those abusing their power. But here's where the media muddies the water. By lumping this proposal together with stories of illegal gun sales, they create a false narrative. They make it seem like Trump is endorsing corruption when, in reality, his focus is on accountability and fairness for officers doing the right thing. And there's more. Trump's name is also tied to the ATF in this context. Critics point to his leadership choices and ask whether he would disband or defund the ATF altogether. While I don't think Trump would go that far, it's clear he has shaken up the agency like no president before him. From challenging their rulings on things like pistol braces and 80% lowers to appointing leaders who understand the gun community, Trump has made it clear that the ATF's unchecked power needs a hard reset. However, none of this means Trump is soft on corruption. In fact, he's been vocal about the need for reform in law enforcement, targeting bad actors while protecting those who serve honorably. It's a nuanced position that doesn't fit neatly into sensational headlines. So, when you hear claims about Trump providing immunity to cops selling illegal guns, look deeper. What we're seeing is a deliberate attempt to misrepresent his stance, creating confusion and mistrust among both his supporters and his critics. For us as gun owners, this matters because it shapes how policies are perceived and ultimately implemented. By understanding the real story, we can separate fact from fiction and focus on what really matters, holding bad actors accountable while protecting the rights of law-abiding citizens. Now that we've unpacked the scandal and Trump's role, let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture. Because this isn't just about corrupt cops or misleading headlines. It's about systemic problems in law enforcement and the agencies regulating firearms. These issues affect every single one of us, especially as gun owners. The first problem is inconsistency. Gun laws vary wildly from state to state, and enforcement is no different. What's legal in one state could get you jailed in another. This creates confusion, not just for everyday citizens, but also for the very people tasked with enforcing these laws. Unfortunately, some officers take advantage of this gray area, using loopholes to line their pockets. And when these officers get caught, it makes us question the entire system. If the people enforcing the law don't follow it, how can the rest of us trust it? Then there's the ATF. This agency is supposed to ensure firearms regulations are followed, but they've been mired in their own controversies. From Operation Fast and Furious to arbitrary rulings on pistol braces and 80% lowers, the ATF has a track record of creating more problems than they solve. One day they'll declare something legal, and the next they'll change their minds, turning law-abiding gun owners into criminals overnight. It's a joke, and frankly, it's a dangerous one. But here's the thing. This isn't just about government overreach or corruption in law enforcement. It's about us, the responsible gun owners who follow the rules, respect the law, and just want to protect our rights. Every scandal, every misuse of power chips away at public trust. And when trust in the system erodes, it's the law-abiding citizens who suffer the most. So what's the solution? It starts with accountability, real accountability. Officers who break the law must face consequences, no exceptions. Agencies like the ATF need to focus on clarity and fairness, not creating arbitrary rules to trap responsible gun owners. And as citizens, we need to stay informed, speak up, and demand better. Because if we don't, who will? This is bigger than any one scandal or administration. It's about protecting our rights and holding the system to the same standards it expects from us. Now that we've broken down the facts, I want to hear from you. What do you think about all this? Do these scandals with law enforcement and the ATF shake your confidence in the system? Or do you think these are isolated incidents that don't reflect the bigger picture? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm genuinely curious to see how you all feel about this. Here's another question to think about. Do you believe Trump's approach to immunity for good officers strikes the right balance? On one hand, we need to protect those who risk their lives to keep us safe. On the other, we can't ignore the bad actors who exploit their authority. Where do we draw the line? I think this is something all of us need to consider, especially in the current climate. And finally, as gun owners, what do you think is the best way to hold agencies like the ATF accountable? Should they be reformed, defunded, or something else entirely? Personally, I'd love to see them focus on clear, consistent regulations that protect our rights rather than creating confusion and overreach. But that's just me. What do you think? Drop your opinions below and let's have a real discussion. I'm always reading your comments, and some of your insights might even make it into a future video, so don't hold back. This is your chance to weigh in and make your voice heard. Let's wrap this up. The scandals we've talked about today, the rogue cops, the ATF's mishandling, and the misleading media coverage are symptoms of a much bigger problem. At the heart of it all is the erosion of trust in our institutions. Whether it's law enforcement or federal agencies, when the people in power fail to follow the rules, it's law-abiding citizens like us who pay the price. Trump's approach to law enforcement immunity might not be perfect, But it's clear he's trying to address the challenges good officers face while maintaining accountability for bad actors. And as gun owners, we should pay close attention because these decisions directly impact our rights. If you found this discussion valuable, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Let's keep this conversation going. Together, we can push for a system that protects our rights and holds everyone accountable, from rogue officers to federal agencies. Thanks for sticking with me through this deep dive. These are complex issues that affect all of us, but by staying informed and speaking out, we can make a difference. Remember, as gun owners, our voices matter. Whether it's calling out corruption, pushing for reform, or defending our Second Amendment rights, we have the power to create change. Stay sharp, stay safe, and don't let the headlines fool you. The truth matters. Hold them down. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Let's keep fighting the good fight together.